What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going over the price action on NAS 100. It's the 1st of December, last trading month, last month of the year. Let's get right into the price action. So today we opened up higher, a little bit of a gap up before we sold back off. I set a gap up here. We sold back down into this fair value gap, this daily fair value gap. So like I said last week, we closed above this previous weekly high, traded up into this week. We opened up here above this week. Like I said, a little bit of a gap up, traded down into the week. This could be the manipulation, and this week we can do before we flip back to the upside if we're going to get a continuation for the Santa Claus rally. So this here would be the high, and then this here would be the next high before we get to the all-time high. So on the monthly candle, we had this long week here. Maybe we get some trading back down into this week here. I just been patient trying to see how we set up for this week, and then now we determine if we can get some good push to the upside. So this is the 4-hour time frame. Let's get right into it. The 4-hour time frame, this is what we look like. Opened up, traded back down into this weekly opening gap from a couple of weeks back. That's what held us today. A bit of a choppy day today before we traded back up to the upside. We opened up already for the second day, Tuesday, and this is where we're looking right now. So that's the daily. Let's get right into the 1-hour time frame. The 1-hour time frame, like I said, we opened right here, traded down into the weekly opening gap, as well as this other block that we have sitting here before we run to the upside. So we opened right here, sold off, created the midnight open down here, tried to go up, couldn't make it far, then we traded back down. This was around New York before we tried to run back to the upside, and it was really a struggle today because we traded up, and all of these wicks have some long manipulation here, and I don't think these ones line up with the macros too clean today. So let me go down now to the 15-minute and show you the kind of manipulation. So this is what the 15-minute looks like. So manipulation to the upside, if you notice, the spread is kind of wide and this thing during this time. So like I said, this is where we opened right around, where is it here? Refresh. So this is where we opened yesterday, right here. Let me see if I can find it, if it's the correct one. Yeah, so opened right here, up here. So we open, and we just sold right back off, coming back down. This is a 15-minute demand zone that we came into, buy back up, came back down for a second test, and then we traded up. So let's get right into the opportunities for today. So trading view, going down to the 1 minute. Let's go over the action today. So this was the sell-off immediately as market opened. So we had this gap up here. This is a new week opening gap right here. Wrong. Alright, So this is where it opens. So all of this is the gap. Close here on Friday, open all the way back up here. So this candle will open, well, it will be to right here. So this is the new week opening gap. New week opening gap right there. Traded up above it, came back down, and then we started to sell off from Asia session, coming all the way down, coming into the higher volume part of Asia. Respected this fair value gap, and we just continued selling off until midnight open. Midnight open was here. Monday started through Monday. Traded down before manipulated up. We got this inversion right inside of here, and we started trickling back up. So during London session, let me zoom in. During London session, this was the action. So this was the first inversion here. This thing not trying to see if I can restart it. Alright, so here we go. So traded above this order block, we had this fair value gap right here. After we had this inversion of this fair value gap, because the price action is a bit choppy when the monthly flow is coming in right out the bat. So we had this first inversion right here. Traded above, retested this fair value gap, and we just traded continuing up. So this first macro 1150 to 110 gave us a nice little buy from this other block. Bit of a choppy move, came into really London here. Sideways right through here, we had an next fair value gap right here that we were respecting. Came back to sell right back down here. So we sold off here during London to come back into this order block here before we got a nice little spring off there for some buys. Traded sideways a bit before we continued higher. Use this fair value gap here. This macro give us a nice little push to the upside, and then now this one move back down to here. Let me see if I can draw here. So we use this little zone here to give us a nice little buy during London, the true London open, before we trade it back down. So we could have caught a buy inside of here. So buy here. Before we sold off here using this huge fair value gap. So we had an inversion here. Sell came down, and then now during the latter part of London, this is around 450 to 510 macro gave us this buy opportunity here to send us a little bit higher. But market is a bit range bound, kind of choppy if you notice how the wicks look. Traded back up into this order block here before selling right back off. So 550 to 610 macro gave us this sell off, and by the time we get to 710, we got 650 to 710, we got another sell off during here. By the time we got to 8, this was the entry for the buy, and this came all the way up to here before we ended the early part of the session. So at 10, we had this, the volatility comes into the market right around here. We traded back down. I think we had some ADP or something, some economic release here, traded down into here, back into the same order block from Asia, or Asia, late Asia to London. This gave us a nice little inversion, one entry there. This is on the 945 candle. So 10 a.m. started over here and we manipulated to the downside at first. So we went up at first, came back down. Outside the macro window, we had this long wick down here. During the macro window, we had a nice sell off again. Bit of a tricky operation today. So as soon as we came down into here, we had a nice little buy opportunity to give us the best continuation. It's outside the macro window, but it was still a valid trade right outside the window. So we bought all the way up, sideway movement, pushing up through lunchtime, sideway movement after lunch going into the PM. As soon as we hit the PM, we sold off to the downside and just kind of just traded sideways for the rest of the day. And that was pretty much it for NQ and that day. Let me see if gold was any cleaner. So gold is the same kind of chop mess here. So London gave us some nice buys here, and then New York sold off right back to the downside. So see we're selling off right now in Asia. That is how we're looking. But that is really it for today's video. I will catch you guys on the next one. No trades for me today. Not one single trade. So I will see what we get tonight during London session and tomorrow if I get a chance. So until next time guys, peace.